Hi everyone and welcome to the next Network Balance. This is the balance I completed on the 16th of August. I think we're up to number 9, but not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. We had a few issues come in today. It's been a little quiet, but it feels like the issues are a little more intense. So quality, not quantity, it seems. And I hope that you are surviving if you're in Melbourne, Victoria, in the kind of severe lockdown. So praise be to all of you. So this session, this balance, we looked at the priority issues of being able to connect into our higher selves, our higher heart, distortions of truth, feeling dehumanized, falling into unhealthy routines, I guess, and battling that, and judging others as an emotional avoidance strategy. So yeah, this one's it's getting real, folks, getting real. So our goal is I am the person I am meant to be. And isn't this classic? Like, I'm the person I'm meant to be. That's not a good enough goal. What the hell? So I actually had to test another goal. And that was I honor myself and the potential within me. So that made me feel a little bit better. Okay, so I'm becoming the person who I'm meant to be. Always. And I am already the person I'm meant to be. This is the head fuck of the spiritual awakening process, isn't it? It's this question of I do wish to, and I do love and accept myself perfectly as I am right now. But I just like to be better at this and this and this and this, right? Quite tricky. So I feel this balance is about walking that fine line between loving and accepting ourselves and others, of course, but also seeking to reach more of our potential or unlock more of our skills and talents, and really unleash more of our truth, and doing that in a way that isn't kind of critical or cheerleadery or what's the word, like boot camp style, like you've got to be this, you've got to be that. The shoulding, as we know, the bumper sticker is should quickly turns to shit. So it's how do I kind of reach for a higher version of myself without berating myself, beating myself up, coaching myself into oblivion. The emotions were unacceptable, self to others. So again, that theme of self-rejection, who I am is not good enough. And then the interesting one of disoriented others to self. And that is that the communication of others, the information and the data coming from other people is actually disorientating us and actually having quite an impact on our energy field, whether we realize it or not. We're kind of getting thrown off the scent or getting confused or not losing who we are quite quickly as a result of the bombardment of data coming at us. So that's really critical to this balance. So we had 3 corrections, and the first correction was a psychic block and the distortion of reality. So the psychic block basically means that there's psychic junk, clogging up our own energy, clogging up our energy field. And that ultimately blocks access to our higher self. It blocks access to us, our ability to just be self-loving and self-accepting. So the block was letting others' behaviors, choices, opinions, and communications strongly affect us and distort our reality. So before we know it, our reality, our version of what we want for ourselves or for the world or for our loved ones is getting distorted by, the mainstream narrative or other people's strong opinions or whatever it is. So the reason that's happening is because we're being pretty sluggish with our own communication and our own definition. So if we're not really self-affirming, waking up every morning and going, this is how I want to feel today, this is what I want for the world, I want to be a loving, forgiving, compassionate person. If we're not doing that, then we're kind of allowing all the other data, the other agendas to seep in or hijack in some circumstances. So the three things that tested here for us were, I cannot be an individual. I have to justify myself, and I don't deserve to have perfect health. So to me, that seems as though the common or the really strong messages that are getting pumped out by the media or by the government, by society, our peers, the kind of cultural norm that it's not okay to be an individual. We all have to justify our choices. And then this kind of implication that health is something that has to be worked at or earned. It's something that we need a mask to be able to have, or, whatever strikes a chord for you. But having a look at this health just can't flow effortlessly. It can't be a result of me tuning into and connecting fully with my life force energy. Instead, it has to be something that is far more complex than that. So that's they're the key aspects of the data of the psychic junk that are clogging us up. There might be more for you, so have a think about that. If there's other things, other people's opinions or ideas that really you feel throw you off and distort you, have a look at those. The correction here is really simple. It's affirming. It's actually, we forget how much power we have in simply stating our choices, in simply saying, this is what I want for me. This is what I choose. So we want to affirm, we want to declare that quite firmly. I choose that I can be an individual, I choose that I don't have to justify myself. I deserve perfect health. So they're the things that you want to affirm. Do it as much as you can. It's a good idea to do it before you float off to sleep at night, when we're in the right the brainwave state, to kind of really have that sink into our subconscious and become our way of life. So secondly, we had the avoidance strategy. As much as we want to keep avoiding, and it's easier to avoid, as you know, it's not really going to help us in the long run. So an avoidance strategy, which you probably know, is about avoiding pain or avoiding emotional pain. Avoiding anything that we don't want to look at. They could be self-judgments and stuff as well. But let's really focus on this as an emotional or energetic feeling. Gary Zukav, who I really like, has 3 categories of avoidance strategies. Feel free to use this as a checklist, because I do. Escaping to external circumstances, so that's where we're avoiding our own feelings by getting into something, so getting into work, making something more perfect, our perfectionist stuff. Avoiding external circumstances, which is really obvious. That's the one we're probably, really familiar with, which is just checking out. So stuffing our face, binge watching, alcohol, drugs, etc. And then there's changing external circumstances. So this is the fix-its. So we're avoiding our own emotional pain when we're kind of jumping in and trying to fix something. And that can be through people pleasing, and it can be through judging. So today, the avoidance strategy of choice that's trending at the moment, the trending avoidance strategy is judging. Wow. No surprises there. So Zukav describes judging as, I really like this quote. When you judge others, you forget who you are, what your goals and desires are, and most important, what you are feeling. So he's saying that the impulse to judge is actually generated by internal pain. It's this process of judging that enables us to shift our awareness away from what we're feeling in here to the mind and what's going on out there. So rather than experiencing our emotion or our own experience, we're sending our attention to this thing that we're judging. So this activity, which is from Gary Zukav's book, and I've not bastardized it, I've changed it a little bit, but this is very simple, but very, very powerful. And I really urge you to not avoid this avoidance strategy correction. Because, we could do that. I did it. I tested this, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I thought, oh yeah, you're avoiding that avoidance strategy correction. So I'll share with you in a minute. I'll go through it and then I'll share with you what happened for me, which was quite interesting. So think of something or someone that you're judging. And if you can't think of something right now, think of something, from your past, something that's happened in the past, or a memory or a person from your past or whatever. You still have a charge around, so you're still activated. You still really can tune into that judgment. You still feel a bit of a rise about it. So identify what that judgment is. What is it that you're saying about them or it? What is it that they're doing wrong? And then I want you to just pause that judgment and stop and scan the body. So close the eyes down, scan the body. What's the sensation that I'm feeling in my body? Where is it? And you know what? You don't actually have to do anything else. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to know anything about it. You don't have to justify it or defend it. You don't even have to accept it. You just have to observe it. So it's what am I feeling right now? When I judge that, when that judgment comes up for me, what's the sensation? And then simply allow it. So emotion is energy in motion. So it's just an emotion, but we're looking at it purely at that physical level to stop the mind from going into more analysis. So we actually want to shift that energy. We want to shift that emotional energy, that pain. That's it. So it's being as gentle and compassionate with yourself as you can. And there's this recognition there. It's just noticing the compulsion. When I go to judge, can I stop that process for a moment and just take a moment to see what I'm feeling, what's activated in me? And that's all I have to do. It's quite simple. So as I said, I'll share with you what happened for me. So one of the judgments I had is I ran into a triage nurse or a paramedic at the coffee shop, and she was telling me about some stories about the sense of entitlement of the people in the emergency room. And, it was horrifying. It was like, people, demanding and yelling at her for their attention when they were clearly a lower priority crisis. And I could feel this judgment. I could feel this, oh my gosh, what is it? How could people be wasting the resources and the time of good, hardworking people with their petty little pain issues? Oh, I went right into it. It was awesome. So when I did this activity and I stopped and scanned my body, I found it in my large intestine, in my gut, lower gut, and all of a sudden, so I was tuning in and just observing that feeling, and it was like a block. It was like because we're talking sensation here, so you don't have to really go into the emotion. You just have to feel the sensation. But it was like like a deadness, like a numbness. And as I kind of observed that, and you can breathe into it a bit, I breathed into it. What happened immediately was a memory floated up for me of me lying in my bed early days when I was very, very unwell, and just being so desperate to escape my pain and my powerlessness, that I, was tantruming, like screaming, anyone, do something kind of thing. And so it was interesting that memory came up for me. Not saying that happens every time, but I connected my judgment of that powerlessness in them was the pain of my powerlessness that I hadn't really released. Anyway, I hope that doesn't scare you off. That doesn't have to happen for you. Whatever will happen for you will happen. But let's just look at this compulsion that we have to turn our attention to the judgment and stop escaping our pain. The other thing I'll say is that you're all empaths in this network. You're not here because you're devoid of emotion. You're here because you feel, because you're human. And so it's actually up to us, the humans versus the robots, to feel and to break that cycle. I actually had another memory come up. See, it's all coming out now, isn't it? Of, I wasn't wearing my mask. Apologies. I was drinking my coffee, but I had a very strong judgment of somebody coming past me at the park, and he judged me. That's in my head too, isn't it? But I could feel, he told me off. So, I guess that's a fairly literal judgment. So he told me off, and I noticed that I immediately wanted to judge him back. And ABBA's song came into my mind, which I'd obviously changed the lyrics, but it was judging me, judging you, aha. And I just thought, there's nothing we can do when I'm judging me, judging you, right? So the ping pong continues. And this is what's happening. We feel other people's judgment, we judge back. We judge them, they judge us back. And as an empath, I believe it's our responsibility here on earth to start transmuting that emotion. And so the transmutation will happen when we take responsibility for our own emotion, when we decide to pull out of the ping pong, when we decide to say, oh, you know what, I'm actually going to feel this energy in me instead of pinging a judgment back at you. I'm not saying that's easy. I'm not saying that's fun, but it is freeing. And for me, I kind of just tune into that. The freedom that I feel when I let go of an energy that has been blocked for a long time is too good to kind of ignore. So I'd rather not avoid the freedom anymore. I'd rather, face it, face the energy. I still have to do it kicking and screaming, but we can only keep trying and committing to it. So our third correction was reactive subpersonalities, and that is reactivity happens when one thing is bullying another. So, we have reactive muscles when one muscle is kind of taking over from another muscle. We have organs, emotions, anything can be reactive. In this case, it was reactive subpersonalities. So that was aspects of our personality that are in conflict, or one is dominant over another. And the reactivity pattern was for the child and parent, where the child is dominant. So our little inner child is having this, I want to be provided for and I'm really scared of the future. And that is kind of taking over the system and stopping our adult who actually wants to tap into its power and it wants to feel proud of itself. I thought this was an interesting thing to test up, that we actually, at the end of the day, there is a part of us that wants to feel proud of who we are and what we're doing. So we need to honor that, but we can't honor it if we're stuck in this, oh my God, what's going to happen, and oh my God, can somebody, throw me a bone and get me out of this situation. So with all reactivity patterns, it's about lowering the dominant and boosting the one that's been under energy. So we need to reduce that fear of the future and wanting to be provided for, and really increase our power and our sense of pride in ourselves. The physical rebalancing or energetic rebalancing here is one hand on the navel. You can't see it, but it's on my navel. Actually, I haven't put a photo of Jamie in. I must do that. One hand on my navel. The other hand, a few fingertips here on the glabella, which is the third eye. And we just want to kind of feel into that pulse there. Let the body settle. And we're balancing our central and governing meridians. And as we do that, again, we want to do some affirmations in a nice, slow, firm manner. I am provided for, I am powerful, I'm proud of myself, and I'm responsible for myself. So you can do that as many times as you like. You can do them all together. You can do one at a time, however you feel you'd like to do it. And really just kind of letting that sink in. We're resetting the body in that case. We're resetting the energy, and that does calm us down and allow those affirmations to really sink in, get past the perceptual filters. So again, anything else that you feel inspired to do, where you feel like something that's kind of going to bring the energy of the child down in terms of when it starts panicking about fear, the future and being provided for, if that's financial worries, etc., what you need to do for that. But really doing that in a way that's stepping into the power of the adult, taking responsibility, and really, what do you want to be proud of? Like, what are actions and choices that you could make that you would feel really chuffed about yourself for, and that you can pat yourself on the back for? So then finally, our support. So we had the crystal of rhodonite, and oh my gosh, I didn't get my crystal. There's a nice picture there, sorry. And rhodonite's affirmation is, I call forth my hidden talents and abilities, and I use them lovingly for the benefit of all. How lovely. So rhodonite, when I asked it's like, I don't want you to meditate with me. I don't want you to sleep with me. That sounds a bit odd. I don't want you to, put me under your pillow, whatever. It actually, the messages from rhodonite, it wants you to reflect on them. And those messages were, or the questions are, what skills do I have that could benefit my community? Am I scared to use these skills or bring them out into the open? Or if you're not, do you need, and you've been bringing your skills out into the community, in that case, do I need to appreciate them more? Do I need to be proud of them a bit more? Okay, so they're the reflections, courtesy of rhodonite. Then for homework, focus tested. No shit, that's a challenge, right? But our focus is, what reality do I want for myself? What reality do I want for the people I love? What reality do I want for the people that I judge? And what reality do I want for the world? So really, we keep focusing on that. When we feel that distortion of reality, we keep kind of bringing that back to almost like a counterbalance to, well, this is what I choose. Yeah. So I think every time we feel triggered, we're noticing, clearing that energy, but then we're also affirming what we want instead. And then finally, a bit of nutrition tested this time, wanting foods high in vitamin B6, the pyridoxine. So brewer's yeast is the best. It's lovely. But, your lentils, your brown rice and beans there. So you can tuck into that. And that's it. So I hope this finds you well. I hope this balance helps. Good luck with the doing the judgment, and I'd love to hear some of your feedback. I'd love for people to start sort of sharing a bit more about what they're finding or what they found for themselves. It's important that we remind everyone in the network that there's nothing wrong with us, and that we're all feeling it, that we're all going through this. I'm not going to say we're all in it to fucking together, because I can't stand it, but we're all, just as fucked as each other. Let's say it that way. How funny. Okay. Anyway, I'll ramble now. So I'll see you later. Good luck. Take care. Bye.